My name's Jason. I'm from a company called Nx, and I'm here to talk to you about Nx. So this is a lightning talk, so I'm going to talk kind of fast and keep it high level, but if you have any questions, come to me after, and I'll talk your ear off for probably another lightning talk. So I'm the tech lead of the Nx CLI project, and I've been working on Nx for 7 years now. So I've kind of thought about the same problem for 7 years, and I'm going to talk about it today. Kind of crazy, I know. I've worked directly with Fortune 500 companies who are all building pretty ambitious apps. And as part of that, I've worked on multiple projects with developers of like hundreds of developers on dozens of teams. So I'm quite used to working with the kind of big projects that you might think of when you think of enterprise development. Those are my socials, and I'm based here in Toronto, so you'll probably see more of me if you're coming to these meetups. Let me talk about Nx. So as a company, Nx has been around for 8 years now, and we've spent 8 years consulting for these enterprises, Fortune 500 companies, and we use that knowledge to build the ultimate build tool so that you don't have to. And yeah, over half of the Fortune 500 companies, including the ones that you see below, use Nx, and so hope you're excited to learn a little bit about it. As a tool, the motto of Nx is smart monorepos, fast CI. It's a build system that's been optimized for monorepos. So if you've heard of Google, Facebook, a lot of the big companies, they do this crazy thing where they put all their code in one repo, right? So that's what Nx is built for. It also enhances AI with architectural awareness of your repository, and it also has advanced CI capabilities. I'm going to talk about the last one today, but there's plenty of more features to Nx that hopefully I can get to. And then Nx is open source, is extensible and configurable, and it's also language and technology agnostic. This is try to dodge everything like Frogger. But yeah, it scales for huge projects that I've been talking about, so let's move on. All right, my turn to ask you, how long does your CI take? Anyone lucky? 0 to 15 minutes?
10 minutes.
Wonderful. 15 to 30? 30 to 40, or 30 to 60? Feel bad for you. Over an hour? All right, lucky group. Wow. I don't really have to tell you all this, but like slow CI is a huge problem. As developers, we hate it. We wait around seeing if the code is good. We know the code is good, but then it tells us the code is bad. And it sucks to wait a long time for it, but as a company, it also sucks because you have to pay for this work, right? You send it up to Jenkins or GitHub Actions, whatever, right? And you have to pay for that compute. It's not even making you money. You just kind of have to do it because it ensures quality, right? And then in the long term, right, it like causes you to ship slower if you get bogged down by having to check your code. So nobody likes it. Can it be fast? So the overview for today is I'm going to look at the CI for the Spring Boot repo, actually. It's a pretty large project, and we decided to make it kind of our case study. So I'll talk about that, and I'll talk about how Nx makes it faster, and then I will also talk about maybe some other features of Nx as well. All right, some stuff about the Spring Boot repo. So the Spring Boot repo has 191 projects, and that means running 5,674 tasks just to validate a CI, right? I'm talking about the worst case scenario where, like, I don't know, someone updates Java to Java 24, wants to rerun all the tests so that they make sure that Spring Boot works well for whoever uses Spring Boot here, right? And this is all running on one normal GitHub Actions runner, and we'll talk about how that can change. So a little refresher of how Gradle builds things. So in your repository, Gradle allows you to split your projects up, and then each of those projects has like mini tasks that it can do, right? So this is great for a build tool because now you have these modular pieces that can get parallelized and stuff like that. So that is exactly what Gradle does. It starts up, X number of threads, and all those tasks run on the threads, right? And so this is the 104 minutes that I'm talking about. Maybe I didn't talk about it. Anyways, this takes 104 minutes on the Spring Boot repo, which is an hour and 44 minutes, kind of a long time. But worth it so that you all can get a good quality framework. But if it could be faster, that would be amazing. And so if they were smart, they would cache tasks, right? And then this would get it down to somewhere more respectable, like 50 minutes. Sometimes you can get even faster if you're just like running the same thing over again and everything's cached. But your mileage may vary depending on which part of the repo you're touching. So yeah, like I estimate about 50 minutes if you turn on caching, which they have. But I would I'm trying to go down from the 104, right? Now, an even more advanced case that they don't do is something that you could kind of roll at home, where you throw hardware at the problem, and you're like, all right, one machine's not fast enough, I don't want to wait 50 minutes, let me throw hardware and throw 4 machines at it, right? And you say like, this project go here, that project go there, this project go here, right? And like you just kind of list out different chunks of tasks for different machines to do. And this gets you down to 30 minutes, and you're happy, right? Like from the 104, you're waiting a third of the less time, right? And you're probably pretty happy with yourself, saving money, like grabbing less coffees. But so how can Nx make Gradle faster, right? And the dialogue goes something like this: great job, Gradle. Can Nx do any better, right? And I'm going to tell you that it can do it in 5 minutes. So let's start the timer. All right, bidding tasks. This is what I was talking about before. We put a list of tasks in a bin, send it over to an agent, tell me when you're done, right? And for the 5,000 tasks, if we have 4 machines doing it, this is what, like 1,600, 1,300? But Nx does things in a smarter way. So we rarely run tasks like that, even though you can, like with any build tool, right? Like you can just send different tasks to a different machine. Nx does things in a different way. So we have an orchestrator that lives on the main machine, but then talks to machines over and over again. So once the machines run the first set of tasks, right, it goes back into the orchestrator and asks, hey, like what's next for me? And this, it still takes 30 minutes, but there's a big benefit here, which is those 3 machines on the bottom, after they're done with their tasks, and only the first guy is waiting for those tasks to be finished, those 3 machines can go home early, right? And that means you stop paying for those machines and you save money. All right, so that's cool. When you send up a PR to GitHub, right, like you don't always touch everything. A lot of those tasks that run in your CI, they're probably for nothing. So let's say like half of those tasks, you don't need to run, right? Like you already know you didn't touch that code, but because it's in a repo, you decide, I want to run them. Nx is smarter. Nx looks at the repo, looks at the projects, and it decides the affected tasks are actually this subset here. Less tasks, less time, right? So if we jiggle these around, we can redistribute the tasks, again, like dynamically during the CI run, and then, this can go down to, let's say, 20 minutes. All right, but it's not going to get much shorter than that, is it? But I said 5 minutes, so how can we do that? And the slow part is really these tasks up top. These might be your integration tests, your end-to-end tests, stuff that takes a long time. And so what Nx allows you to do is to kind of split up these long tasks. So instead of saying one machine, go run my 1,000 tests, it splits those 1,000 tests into the 1,000 parts, right, to the atomic level basically, and sends those off to different machines. So now we can redistribute it in a better way, where different machines will run like the same part of that suite. And this gets us down to the 5 minutes. So we've hit our mark, talk's over, but wait, one more thing. Sometimes, and I think we all have them, they're called flaky tests, right? And one test decides half the time it's just going to fail. Maybe because you didn't handle time zones correctly, maybe because it just took longer than usual for sometimes. But we all have those tests, and they suck because what happens is that you just have to start up a whole new set of machines. You got to send it back to CI, and like some of them are fast, but you have to rerun that test, right? And this almost never happens because you don't sit there waiting for that flaky test to fail, right? You push it up, you expect it to pass, and you go into your meeting, right? and someone asks you, is it done yet? This is a simple fix. You should have gotten done like yesterday, right? And you're like, nope, test failed. I got to go back after this meeting and figure out what's wrong. Then you can rerun your tests, and then they pass. But we spent all this time trying to get it down to 5 minutes, and now the time is 65 minutes again, just because you had to go into a meeting and the flaky test happened. Is there a better way? So I want to focus in on this test that gets rerun, right? This time it passed because that's the nature of the flaky test. And so what Nx does is that it takes that failed task from the first set, it invalidates it, and it just runs this test again as part of the same run, so the same CI trigger. And once it does that, this passes. You know, it invalidates the first one. It says, all right, you have a flaky test here. It'll warn you about it, but it will just rerun it for you so that if it passes, 50% of the time, you can move on with your life for now and then kind of continue to listen to this warning that says you have a flaky test. You should go fix it. And now we're back at the 5 minutes time, right? And now I can go back into that meeting and say, like, is it done yet? Yeah, it's done, right? My boss will say, wow, you're amazing. It's almost like you're an NX developer. Anyway, so to recap, NX uses these many strategies to run your CI faster, and this scales tremendously well. It's not limited to 4 agents. As your repo gets bigger, you don't have to scale the machines kind of vertically. You can scale horizontally across more machines and more machines and more machines. Hopefully, it doesn't get that bad for you, but this scales as a solution for even the largest repos. All right, so I want to take a look at what this looks like. Can you all see? I hope so. I'll bump it up one more time. So this is what a run looks like in NX. And you can see there's 3 agents that started up here. And this is for the Spring Boot repo that I was talking about. And this is with no cache hits, no nothing. Worst case scenario from the 104 minutes. And you can see that like every agent is getting tasks. So this agent got 32 tasks at once. This agent also got 32 tasks. There's a ton of tasks to go around. And sometimes, like the machine's idle, waiting for tasks to get sent from the orchestrator. But all in all, you can take that 104-minute build and get it down to the 38 that we have here. So much better. This is without caching. So once you turn on caching, or like once you actually do a change that doesn't affect everything, this can go down to the 5 minutes or the 10 minutes, whatever. Right? Alrighty. I believe I have some more slides. I don't know. I'm supposed to be done in 15 minutes. I'm basically there. But the question is, do I have to switch from Gradle? You've invested a lot from Gradle, right? Like you've written your own tasks. Everything works in Gradle. Like I don't want to get rid of it. If anyone's looked at Bazel before, they kind of like, you want Bazel, it's a very powerful tool, but you have to kind of switch everything over. So no, you don't have to switch from Gradle. It integrates with Gradle. So the dialog goes something like this. NX is like, yo, Gradle, what kind of projects and tasks do you have? And then whenever something asks NX, like, can you run these tasks for me? It uses its big brain and orchestrates this and does all these cool strategies. And then it says, all right, like I know what to do, when to do it. Let me ask Gradle to do it. So it goes something like this. You have your project with a whole bunch of inner projects and all of these Gradle tasks. So NX reflects the same thing and creates the same project with some like wrapper tasks, and then takes those tasks from Gradle and runs them inside of its own tasks. So after this, then NX is able to orchestrate everything and run them with the caching and the intelligence and all that. And to set this up, you do something like this. So 3 steps. Brew install NX init inside your workspace, and it will automatically analyze your workspace to get all this information. Then you can run NX graph, which I'll show in a second, and you can run NX affected build. Great. We're going to wrap up. These are some other features. Don't have time. Sorry. Next time. Thank you. My name's Jason, and come talk to us. Special shout out to Emily, who's also based here in Toronto, who worked on the implementation for this. And yeah, come talk to us and visit nx.dev/java to learn more.
Thank you. You want to stick around after and chat with people? Or?
Yeah, I'll be here as long as someone's talking to me, I guess.
What do you do if you're still stuck in the 20 years behind and using Maven?
Good question. So we've started our Java support with Gradle because it's a tool that matches NX, but we are looking at Maven support coming soon. And fingers crossed it should be easy, but nothing's ever as easy as you think it should be. But it is being worked on.
I was going to tell people to get with the times and use Gradle.
Maybe.